Welcome to the season finale of the Pocket Network podcast. Can you believe it? We've had 15 episodes already. I hope you guys enjoyed each episode as much as we enjoyed creating them for you. We've had such amazing guests. We've had people that have been lifelong friends for us, and we have people who we just met on the podcast, and we made such a great connection with them. Genuine people, really working hard to do more and make a difference in the industry. I hope you guys have felt the impact of each of these guests. I feel like I personally, just sitting here, have learned so much from everyone. I go home and I rave about each of the guests to my family. I hope you guys have taken not just their advice, but applied it to your actual career. We would love to hear if any of you have applied any of this advice, and if it's worked out for you, message us. Or even if it hasn't worked out for you, let us know. Maybe we can help you guys out. We're all the co-founders of the Pocket Network are on social media, and we are here to help you in any way that we possibly can. That is the entire purpose and the mission of the pocketnetwork.com. So let's jump right into what we're doing today. It's going to be a little bit different. As you can tell, I'm sitting here all by myself. I don't have a guest with me today. So I will be inviting Gevork Najarian, who's the co-founder of the pocketnetwork.com, not just the co-founder, but he's also our producer. He's our sound engineer and so much more. Gevork, join me. We're finally going to get you on camera.
Hi, Marks.
Hello. How does it feel to be on the other side?
Oh my God, it feels so weird.
But it's so legit. Our set is amazing.
When I'm back there, I see everything, and now I can't see anything.
You still see everything.
Yeah, what a season, huh?
Right.
15 weeks went by like that. And
literally.
It was really interesting how and our journey just with the podcast and
how much we've learned about real estate.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about real estate. And I think right off the bat, when we started with season 1, episode 1 with Ed and his journey and what he did, and he wasn't in real estate until like COVID. And then suddenly he started being interested in real estate and got his license and started doing sales and all that stuff. And it was very interesting how much correlation all of our guests have had, regardless of what they are, either a real estate agent, broker, doing mortgages, you know, all that stuff. So we had lawyers on here, we had graphic designers on photographers on here, ice cream, remember that episode? That was a good episode.
Gelato, not ice cream.
Oh, gelato.
Come on, get it right.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we had this wide spectrum of guests that were on the Pocket Network podcast. And the beauty that I got from it, because, you know, like when we're done with each episode, we don't just stop there. We watch it multiple times, going through
multiple rounds of editing.
During post-production. So like I'm listening to like each podcast 4 or 5 times before it actually airs. So and what I saw is just the humanity of everybody. You know, everyone's still human. You know, regardless what your title is, regardless how successful you are, regardless how from how much experience you have, it's all
where
about
you've come from.
It's all about helping people.
Yeah.
And it's something that anybody can apply, regardless of they're in the industry or they're not in the industry. It helps everybody. Like, for example, one of the main takeaways I've had with people that were like so mature into their career is how they balance work and family.
Yes.
You know?
So important.
And so many of our guests talked about that and how important it is that they make enough time to be with their family, but they also make enough time to fully support their customers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for myself personally, I've made an effort to ask those questions to each of our guests to see how do they do this? Is it truly a balance, or is it one day family matters weigh a little heavier and one day career weighs a little heavier? Because my entire life I've heard people telling me whether it is like you're making a mistake, studying too much, looking too much into the future about your career, not family. And then you meet these amazing people who have done both of those, and they have really succeeded in both aspects. Yeah. They're amazing moms, they're amazing dads, they're amazing partners, and yet their career has not suffered because of that.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. You start with your meager beginnings, you know, you start making your way up the ladder, and eventually you get to where you are. The main goal is not to give up, and a lot of our guests that were here said that they consistency at its finest. You need to be consistent in everything that you do. And not give up.
Yeah, and a lot of the guests, like you've said, it's not just about not giving up. They've all given very similar advice. They may do completely different things professionally. They may come from completely different backgrounds, whether it's working for the tech industry, whether it's working for aerospace, whether it was just small jobs on and off, left and right, whatever it was. One of the things that I've noticed is everyone says that they attribute a lot of their success back to their roots, where they started as a child. So we had, for example, Artin Falahi, who had such an impressive professional history. But when you ask him about it, he says, well, looking back at what I did when I was a teenager, I think that helped build who I am as a professional today more.
Yes.
And the same with Zarek Borosyan.
Oh yeah.
He's a PhD, and he could attribute his success to the endless amount of studying. He can attribute his success to so many things. But one of the things that he made an effort to point out is in the beginning how he started, the small jobs left and right, the working long hours. That's what built him into the professional that he is today. And not just about the beginnings. Another thing, most important, where I think we would all agree, every one of our guests has talked about how important honesty and transparency is in their career.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And the beauty of some of these episodes that we've produced and aired, they're not one-time listens.
Yes.
You can listen to it multiple times, and every single time you listen to each of them, you learn something new.
Yeah.
You catch on to something else. You know, I'm speaking to somebody who's listened to all our podcasts multiple times. Every time I listen to it, I'm like, oh wow, I didn't catch that the first time. I didn't catch that the second time. And that was some of the takeaways that I took was how professional all our guests were. And I think it'll be great if we go ahead and just recap some of our episodes that we've had. We've prepared some clips from all our guests throughout these 15 episodes, and let's go ahead and take a look at them now and come back.
Yes, enjoy these snippets.
Real estate is very general and broad at the same time, because you can be just the agent and then grow yourself to be a broker and build a team and do great sales. Don't get me wrong, it's a very great opportunity for anybody to do make very well income in that and do that for a very long time. But also there's so much more behind it. Fell in love about the whole real estate process after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and I'm sure so many other agents and investors can say the same, because that book really opens your mind up and opens your eyes. The seller's agent wanted to make their life easier and not have to deal with someone that they didn't know. They didn't know how they work. They didn't know which escrow company they would choose. They didn't know if they would follow through with the escrow process. They didn't know how quickly they would submit paperwork. So they were taking a step back and making their life easier. It's just as a newer agent, there is a lot of information coming in, and you need to sort of filter out what you can use, what you can do, what you can't do, what you shouldn't do, what you think you should do, right? All of these stuff, you filter it out, and you try stuff. You try one thing, okay, it doesn't work. You try another thing, all right, that doesn't work. You flip your script, you do this, you do that. So it's all about trying different stuff.
Learn what can you do to create these lifelong relationships.
Yeah, so I personally, I'm very blunt, I'm very honest, no beating around the bush for me. No matter what, if I have bad news to give you, I will give it. Because one thing I've learned in my industry is no news is always worse than bad news, no matter what. Because if you don't hear from someone, they will get like 20 different ideas in their head. If anyone is trying to get in the industry, that would be my word of advice, is just try to be, have good communication with people, because you don't know how far that goes, but it truly does, Answering a text, answering a phone call. I have OCD, right?
It sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying, what it takes to be a good loan officer, it's not just making your business very, very personal, your relationship with the client very personal, but finding that right network, access to the right information to succeed.
For sure. Experience and knowledge, is power.
There definitely is something to be said about making that personal connection where you who's the president of Wells Fargo, who's the head of the loans department.
Right.
You're not very close with them. Probably not everyone working there is. But then versus at your brokerage, it's your dad's friend,
yeah,
right?
and everyone knows my boss.
Yeah. So it's more personal. It's like the company is not just a company you're going to for a paycheck.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that also definitely goes into your work culture, and just the clients would definitely see that firsthand with working with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Throughout your career, you're going to go through phases and whatnot. And so even if you've been an industry veteran for a very long time, you may find yourself where you hit a glass ceiling and you need a bit of guidance, you need a bit of inspiration, you need to kind of get out of that. The key word in real estate is consistency.
Yes.
And in order to sustain that consistency, you really have to believe in what you're doing, and you have to have that big why. So we really look at, like, why are you in it? What is it that you're trying to accomplish and achieve? Is this a means to an end? Or, so really diving into that and looking at that. Because once we can, connect them to their inspiration, to their purpose, then everything kind of then starts to flow, right? It's much easier to extract the systems needed to create that consistency and that success over time. It allows the agent to really tap into that sustainability.
Yeah.
And that's you can't get that anywhere else. That's something you have to connect with within yourself. Tell me what you do Monday, through Friday to, get the success that you're looking for. And it's simple habits, right? Like when you really look at, really successful people, they have adopted habits that they're rituals that you do day in and day out. And so getting to that discipline,
yes,
for a lot of people it's that in and of itself is the journey.
Of course.
Right.
And like you said, not just habits, but what makes you happy during the week? Because I feel like burnout is so glorified nowadays. Doesn't matter what industry you look at. Oh, I'm going to college at 12 units, 18 units, plus a 40-hour-a-week job. Great. And if you have to do that, I'm so proud of you. But let's not glorify that. Let's look at what we could do to help ourselves. What makes you happy? It's not 1 week vacation per month, right? It's just small things, like you said, habits during the day. For example, iced coffee. That can make me smile, right?
Right.
So if that's what it takes every morning, get up, don't get lazy, make yourself a really nice cup of iced coffee, whether you need to pray, whether you need to meditate, whatever it is that really makes you centered, that makes you inspired and just more positive. Because if you have a mindset in the morning, I'm not going to make it. If you have that mindset, you think
already, that's it. Yeah,
First step.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up because for me, in my own experience, I did get to a point, I've been in real estate for close to 20 years, so I did get to a point where, I did feel very unmotivated and just like, oh my God, is this it? Am I just, and so I began to really look at myself and what I was doing. And I really had to go back and look at that big why.
Yes.
One of the things that I implemented in my own life was, my morning routine. And I think, for a lot of us, whether you're in real estate or any type of business, the first hour that you rise, that you dedicate to just yourself, like you said, whatever it is, be it a coffee, be it praying, meditation, yoga, whatever. But if you spend that 1 hour nurturing yourself, it makes a whole lot of difference throughout the day. You're just in a better mood. Things just happen. And if something does happen that's unexpected, that may not be the best thing, you're not, harping on that thing.
Of course.
You realize it, you see it, and you're like, okay, let's keep moving forward, as opposed to staying stuck in that and taking that from experience to experience throughout your day.
Of course.
So, that definitely. So I do talk to my agents about that. I think mindset is huge.
Yeah.
I think, with most agents, the way that they run their own business is very telling of their own habits. In self-reflection, herein lies the truth, right? And a lot of us, at many times shy away from that. It's much easier because when you then decide to look at it for what it really is, then it requires change.
Yes.
And so this is where, so for me, I've been very fortunate enough, that people know that, hear the type of training and coaching that I do. And so for the most part, most are ready. I do get, I've gotten agents who are not ready to, look at their habits and look at what they're doing and how they can shift those things to show up in real estate, in such a way that would be so positively beneficial. But it's weird, right? Because we see it. We see that if we were to do X, Y, and Z, we can be here. But it's that, it's having the intellectual knowledge of it, but not being able to match it with your actions.
Yeah, and do you think that comes from fear, or is it more like ego and I'm good where I am, I've done the work?
I think it really depends on the individual, and so it could be a whole lot of things, really and truly, because habits, we pick those up over the years, and depending on the age, depending on the life experience, you can, be walking around with limited beliefs and things about, things about the industry or things about yourself. I think, and I see this most often when I'm working with agents, and, we touch on the topic of social media. Social media is now a huge thing in our industry. If you're not visibly out there, then are you really out there?
Yeah.
Is kind of the thing, right? And so this becomes such a major roadblock to a lot of agents, because for a lot of them triggers insecurity. Not, like, am I good enough? What are they going to say? What are they going to do? So they end up putting this pillar of thought before they go into anything. And so all of a sudden this pillar of thought is right in front of them. They get, analysis paralysis. They've overthought, the post, the video, or, how they want to show up, and then it never gets done. And so when you start seeing, that type of behavior, and what their fallback is, and you can see that, kind of throughout, in their business and possibly even personally.
Yeah.
And so this is where, you have to practice a bit of tough love with the agents and say, hey, look, this is what I see. And, I really think you're great. And, really pull them out of that. And for a lot, they just need that support and reassurance. Like, you're going to be great. We all start off that way. Like, for most social media content creators, when you look at their, first post or first videos, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God. But you see the natural progression of how they get better, and the video quality, the tools,
just the comfortability of the person behind the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what real estate is, really and truly. It's like feeling all of those feelings of insecurity, especially when you're a newer agent, feeling all those things and just saying, I'm still going to do it.
Exactly. If you don't try, you'll never know. And right now, with how fast-paced the world is, not just social media, even if you somehow embarrass yourself, which highly unlikely if it's in a professional setting, if you do embarrass yourself, it moves forward so quickly. Within the next 24 hours, there will be millions of other posts, and people will forget.
You can bury your own post.
Exactly. Yeah, delete it. And I know nothing is technically really deleted, but if it's just something where you don't like the way you look, you don't like the way you sound, you didn't sound like you had the facts, it's not a big deal. And at the end of the day, most people, especially in the industry, especially when you're speaking to a mentor, they're there for your growth. Yeah. And you just have to accept that, especially, like, let's say if someone's meeting with you, I can just imagine if they're sitting there trying to be, Mr. and Mrs. Perfect and trying to present their best self, that's great. But the point of the mentor is you lay it out. And like you said, be honest with yourself. And that goes back to transparency. The business model for a lot of companies, why does it work? Because it works, right? Exactly. And it's not just a business model for companies, right? So if you are transparent with yourself, the self-growth, it will show. People will see it. Yeah. It's not just, it won't just be reflected in your business, but your own personal life, how great you feel, like you feel like you're standing on your own 2 feet. You learn to slowly love yourself. What do you guys focus on marketing-wise for your company, if anything at all?
Yeah, 6-7 years we've gotten really good at finding deals off market, right? How to go to the consumer direct, how to create funnels to get them signed up and eventually sell us their house.
Yes, so just being first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think once you guys start looking more into the Pocket Network, our actual site, that's one thing that I think you guys would benefit from, just because we will have off-market listings, and obviously you guys will be one of our first users. So first, you will be first there, snatch it up, right? Make some great deals on the Pocket Network, hopefully.
Absolutely. So as investors, right, you look for those off-market deals, pocket listings. So this could be definitely a great partnership with your company.
I would say the key is to have, and we teach this at our workshops, as many fishing poles in the water, this marketing, that marketing, try. If you just stick with one direction, even if it's working for you, you're limiting yourself, obviously, and we all know that. But if you get great at one and establish that and then build on that as you go, so you've got, say, an Instagram following, and then you carry that over to other platforms, and you're genuine and you're real and you're consistent and continual in what you're providing content-wise, people naturally flock to that. And when people naturally flock to that, then business comes from that.
The way I start my day is similar to what you said, right? You wake up with gratitude, right? What are you grateful for? I give my kind of gratitude, like mental check. Okay, I'm grateful for my family. I have health. I have shelter. I have food. The basic stuff. Everything outside of the basic stuff is just extra. So every day I do my gratitude list, and then go out through the day, because I know there's going to be situations where God is going to bring people in my life at that time. And I'll tell you what, I go see clients. And I always tell them, I'm here to solve a solution, right? I'm here to really solve a solution. Whether you sell it to me or not, I want to find you a solution. And then their guards come down and we start talking. And I've had clients where we prayed for them, we cried together, we laughed together.
If I may edify Sergio, when you have a team of professionals and you add more professionals to that mix that are like-minded, it changes things for you. It might not necessarily speed up processes, but it makes them so you're doing work more correctly. Because Sergio has so much background, he's a broker, he's done construction work, he's a pilot. There's basically nothing this guy doesn't do.
So he can fly your house directly to the owner.
Exactly right. Yeah. So when you have difficult situations, case in point today, we were looking at a property and we thought we saw a deal. But he showed us 3 or 4 different things that we would have never even thought of. And that's just from his 21 plus years of experience. Hey, by the way, it's not going to hit the value you think it's going to hit because it might have a septic tank problem. And if it does, it could be a $20,000 to $100,000 charge.
What business owners can ask, I guess, what will be important for small business owners to create a relationship with their bank. Either banker or bank or however you want to call it, just create a relationship. And I guess when you're it's good to have you have a doctor, you go for checking, for checkup every 6 months, once a year, hopefully. Yeah. And then same thing here. I guess it's good to have a banker, personal banker, business banker, just to be up to date on all the services and products banks provide. If you are interested in the future at some point to get a loan, being upfront, asking what are the requirements, what will make them bankable to have to be able to get a loan in the future. Maybe you don't need, maybe you're opening your business today, but you will need a loan in 5 years from now. And it will be too late if you'll be asking at year 5, what do I need to get a loan?
Of course.
So if you want to be more proactive, talk to your bankers, create that relationship, find out about all the updates and services and products that bank has to offer.
They recognize talent, not just that, but diversity. That's something really big that huge corporations, they know that a lot of small businesses, they might not have found. That's like the jackpot, right? So if you have diversity, if you have people that got education in another country, that have seen how structure is in another country, compare it, whether it's, hey, let me bring a little bit of this into the US because maybe this works great in Armenia, you, or seeing something that doesn't work that great and being able to point out, this is a huge advancement. We're way ahead of the curve here. Let's focus on this and let's work harder on what we're doing better, right? So the diversity is a huge aspect. And I think that really shows in your career that the people that surrounded you, they really recognize that in you. And of course, the hardworking aspect. When I think about some of my closest friends who I really respect, who had really good standing in their profession, a lot of people, they made a huge change in their career and also in their personal lives during COVID. So that's another thing. When you look at people that are just strong and they emit confidence and they really know how to sit back and evaluate not just their life, but what they're doing and what they're willing to receive. A lot of these people, I look at them to see what they did to adjust, to innovate during this time. And a lot of these people had career changes. That was one interesting thing, yes. Where when they had time to sit back and really think about it, I know someone who was a nurse and decided to get a master's degree in something completely different and just transform what they're doing with their lives. And I think that's also something to be said about those people. Just like a business, what did you do when you were under pressure? Did you just try to wait it out like a lot of other people? Or did you try to pick up, whether it's innovate what you're already doing to see how you can translate that to success, or just change things around? If that's not working, that's fine, but what do I do next? Change is not always a scary or a bad thing, right? So it doesn't have to be something dramatic in the economy. It doesn't have to be something like COVID to change what you're doing in your business. Even if you're doing really, really well, you have to be ahead of the curve. Try to see whether you're looking at forecasts in the market or whether you're looking at how your clients are changing what they require, and be that change, that you start the change and people will flood to you and you'll see the success in your business. Sure, what you're doing is working, but change is a good thing. You might be showing the customer something that they never thought of or they never thought they needed, and all of a sudden you're the new trendsetter, right? So who's going to be more successful? You're going to reap the benefits of that in the beginning until everyone else lines up behind you and copies what you're doing. So whether it's COVID or not, I think every year everyone should get together, even if it's in a family, have a family meeting and say, what can we do next year to be happier, to be more successful as a unit?
There was a vice president in a company that I looked up to, right? Because he was Armenian, he was in the same industry, which we're a very small minority, right? Just being Middle Eastern or anything in aerospace defense industries, you're a minority to begin with. So I always looked up to him because I figured, okay, he looks like me. He he has the same background. He did the same technical education. He had the same technical education, and I looked up to him. And he climbed the corporate ladder, and he made it to the vice president, and he had a very high-paying position. Do
you consider yourself someone that educates, whether it's realtors or home buyers, or do you see it more as a sales job?
Yeah, so I tell because at this point we have about 12 loan officers, right, that we constantly coach and try to educate as well. And the first thing I tell them is, do not try to be a loan officer, be a consultant, right? So I have clients that I haven't done a loan for 3 years. For example, they bought a house 3 years ago, but anything financial that comes up in their life, whether it's a business decision, whether they're getting a divorce, whether they want to purchase a business, they'll call me and they want my opinion. And to me, that is worth more than any loan they'll call me for, because once you have their trust and you have enough knowledge for your clients to rely on you, the loans will come. So that's the easy part. The business will come.
And you have such a diverse background, especially for the real estate industry. So did you pick up things here and there from your corporate jobs that you have applied to become a very successful, top producing loan officer?
Absolutely. So everything you do in life, you add to your manual, right? So from every experience, whether it's family, friends, a job, I always tell people I've worked at major corporations, but I actually learned more from my beginning jobs when I was 15, 16 years old, dealing with average person at a sales job I had, at a retail job that I had. Or, for example, I worked as a wedding photographer, I worked as a salesperson, I worked at a bookstore. So those diverse positions I held, I learned a lot more than having formal title at a corporation. I would say number one is honesty.
Okay.
Everything else, you can be a genius loan officer or a realtor. You can know everything. You can have every loan product and you can have the best rates.
Yeah.
But if you're not honest, that tends to stick with people. And after, yes, you may do well in the beginning, but eventually it catches up with you. So you need to learn how to say no to people, right? Don't take on every transaction because you're trying to just do one more transaction. There are a lot of times where if I'm uncomfortable with the transaction or I know it's not doable, dragging the realtor, the buyers, the sellers through a mess of a month or 2 months of an escrow that you can't close.
Yeah.
It's not beneficial to anybody, and especially to yourself. So honesty is one thing that I have clients that I've turned them away or referred them elsewhere with no financial gain to myself.
Especially in today's digital age.
Yes.
Yeah, whenever I apply to any jobs, I immediately after I submit the application, I find who the hiring person is and I'll write them a handwritten letter and I'll send it. And another thing that I do is I spray my favorite perfume in there just so when they open it, they smell me. Yeah, if they ever smell that again, they know they should have hired me. Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
the mailman has a skunk spray him while he's taking your letter?
Well, damn then. I guess they will just think of either skunk or weed when they open up my letter. Yeah, I mean, it could be memorable still.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I make myself laugh a lot. I don't know.
For now, if I ever want a job change, which I don't see happening in the future, I will definitely just also email the recruiting person and say, what did my letter smell like? Hopefully not skunk. Yeah.
It's easier for them to give you advice on how to do something versus them giving you their business. And I'll tell you how. Like, hey, hi, excuse me, is Mr. John in? Let's say he's the broker, right?
Okay.
Oh, he's not. Who's asking? It's their job to get rid of you.
Yeah.
But then I started calling people and I was like, hey, I'm really starting you. I know you're busy. I'm so sorry to bother you. I'm trying to reach out to other brokers. What's the best way of doing it? And they would give me the best advice.
That's pretty cool.
It is the best thing. Because when somebody asks you something, you're like, whoa, where'd you come from? It's so much.
It's easier to be rude if they're just demanding something from you.
Bye.
Yeah.
And I would say hey, I'm so sorry. Could you help me out?
They're trying to help someone who's just starting out,
Exactly.
wants advice, and they can give their advice for free. It won't hurt the person they're working for.
100%.
But in reality, they're arming you with what you could do to get business.
Because this way, it's a win-win. They get rid of you, and you get knowledge. One of the things I despise to do is give excuses.
Yeah.
I cannot stand myself. I get mad at myself for giving it, even though it could be the right one.
Yeah. Even though it might be a reason, not an excuse.
The other day, some guy bumped into me. I had it on dash cam. He bumped into me, straight up. Just a big fat scratch on my bumper. And I still let him go. I'm like, dude, whatever. I'm late. Because I was late to my client.
Yeah,
I'm not going to give
you
them
don't want to give them.
It was my first time working with the new real agent. I was like, I can't. My wife
fine.
and I went to Italy.
Yeah.
And, ice cream.
Yeah.
So we went to this place.
Ice cream or gelato?
Gelato.
Okay.
This place had 150 flavors.
Oh, wow.
I cursed them in my head for doing something like that to poor tourists my wife and I.
How many did you try?
Here's the thing. You can't try. Watch this. This is so genius. This is what I'm saying. First, you walk into the register.
Yeah.
You pay for how many scoops.
Okay.
Then, once you have that receipt that you paid, you may get some samples.
Okay.
It's freaking
genius.
genius.
Because some people will just walk in and get full off samples.
Yes.
Especially with 150 flavors.
Kind of saying exactly what you just indicated. Once that person pays, you know they're serious.
Ordered my personalized signboard, and it was shipped to me and I got it. And I was kind of looking at it and I was thinking, all right, I want to be able to differentiate myself in the marketplace, and I want to be able to have my listings stand out when I do get that first listing, which I didn't have yet at the time. But so that was kind of when the conversation initiated, and we just thought to ourselves, what can we do to the real estate for sale signage that I put in front of my listings to make my listings stand out, to make me stand out as an agent. And
Okay.
that's really like that's how the spark started.
Yeah, that's amazing. So it was all just part of your own business plan, but then I'm sure you realized pretty quickly what you had. It's something very different, something that can totally, like I said, revolutionize a simple sign. Who would have ever thought it needs to be fixed? People say it's simple. If it works, leave it alone.
Another feature that we haven't touched upon yet is that it lights up from within inside.
Oh, wow.
And so we actually do have a solar panel atop of it and a light fixture inside. And so as the sun sets and then, it becomes darker, all of a sudden the pictures illuminate and they look really sharp. They really glow, and they also illuminate the signboard below, thus kind of bringing more attention to the real estate agent and also expanding the hours that people are looking at the real estate side. One day, one of our customers decided to post, unbeknownst to us, in a Facebook group that had, a bazillion members. And I remember waking up and looking at my phone, and the number of orders that came in was like way too many. Like, we certainly couldn't handle it. And not only that, they were all over the place.
Wow.
And so,
So we got an order for a sign installation like in Florida. And we're like, we had to write back to them and say, I'm so sorry, but we don't currently install signs in Florida. But we wondered where all this came from, so we had to search and find the
origin. Yeah.
And then we found this Facebook post, and man, it had just a trillion likes, and it was just one of our local agents that we installed her sign, and she said, love my new sign, spins and lights up, and just comments and so many phone calls. It was just absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to.
Real estate agents really value, I think, like a one-on-one, face-to-face meeting with another individual. So that was something that I kept in mind, because, I was maybe sending emails out just locally to people that I knew, names that I recognized, and it wasn't getting very much response at all. And so I started with like the guerrilla marketing technique, where I was going into the office, trying to get past the front desk and make it to, maybe the head broker, designated broker for a brokerage. And that was fairly successful. Like, again, Zach mentioned that Brokers Hub here in Phoenix are one of our largest clients, and they're so great. And I met the designated broker, Nicholas Yale, there just by going into the office and meeting him. And, sometimes just forming those relationships and having someone meet you and get to know you, they become more interested in the product.
That's a lot of what we offer as well. It's a very fine line when you're working with a client to make sure that they're getting what they want, but at the same time, like you just mentioned, they're hiring you as a professional. So you're expected to understand and advise in certain scenarios. So there's a lot of instances where our design team will be working with clients, and the clients want to push a certain idea forward, and we respect that completely. But at the same time, as a professional, you understand that maybe, like you just said, that maybe that's not the best decision. And so, you kind of steer them in the right direction, and we take pride in that, because that's exactly why they come over to us and get help from us in the first place. The traditional real estate approach is going to be, I think, less and less popular moving forward, and it's going to be based on, of course, having the help of technology to assist you in that entire process.
Yeah, excuse me, I agree. So if you look at the way the real estate industry was in the past, they were definitely, it was a social career, basically. So if you are not great at socializing, you probably won't attract as many clients. It might be just word by mouth, referral. It might be just family members. But if you're not the person that puts yourself out there, that approaches the client yourself and is able to hold the conversation, to put the imagery in their mind of you living in this home, what it's going to look like, you probably wouldn't be successful. But now with technology, there's people who might not excel in that area. They might just have a love for their job, the industry. They might have a love for the numbers, whatever it is. With technology, it becomes easier for those people to be successful.
Yeah, that's 100% right. And earlier, a one-stop shop where you're going to be able to come in and we kind of hold your hands through the entire process. And we also take a lot of pride in doing everything and planning, essentially. Planning is one of the most integral parts of this entire process. We want to make sure before we even break ground, before we even demolish your old house, we have almost the entire design already laid out in front of you. You will receive a design book, in addition, of course, to renderings and your plans that kind of outline everything that you're going to be getting throughout that entire process. So by the time we demolish your house, you have, I don't say 100%, but a close to 90% idea of exactly every finish you're going to get and exactly what steps we're going to take throughout the construction too. So in our studio approach too, when you look at a lot of local builders, you don't have too many where they offer you that place to come in and touch and feel and speak about that. So we're very excited that that's going to offer us a very distinct competitive advantage and really set us apart and put us on the upper echelon of the companies that we're trying to target, and of course join them at that next level. So again, we take that approach of, if we had this issue come up once, and remember, this is what we do on a daily basis, right? We're going to do this 50,000 more times, and as a result, you don't want to repeat that same issue each and every time. So we figure out the source of that problem. What is it? Was it a term that we missed on our contract? Was it a measurement that we missed in our architectural details? Was it a negotiating tactic we should have switched? We take that, we fix that, we address it with the people that it applies to, and then the next time and the next time and the next time, it's going to get better and better. And by doing this constantly, we're constantly filtering out and improving the business and the processes that we work with as well. So it's an exciting thing, definitely.
The relationship between a real estate agent and an interior designer. And I believe that's so true. And that's the main reason why I keep my podcast going, because I think we need to keep both of those fields together. Both of those fields touch in so many ways. And I find so many real estate agents going into interior design and interior design going to real estate just because they're so close. And we could help more people knowing both sides.
Yeah, I think the two professions are definitely directly proportional, because depending on how well your interior designer does, imagery is everything when selling a house. If a client can imagine their life in each room, then if the interior designer successfully has painted that picture for them, then the real estate agent will be successful in not only getting an offer, but an offer that can be over the value that you expect it to get.
Absolutely. It's all about collaboration.
Technically, if you have, as an interior designer, if you have connections, you could possibly get, let's say, someone to put in cabinets at a slightly discounted price, as then if I were to just hire them as a one-time thing to do my kitchen. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, that's definitely correct.
Okay, so then now applying all of those discounts, basically paying your interior designer does not come out to be that much more expensive than if you were to do this on your own. Not to mention, they're managing everything. So you're saving a lot of time. Now count in how much money do you make hourly, the hours and the stress that you're going to save. It's actually much, much cheaper to hire an interior designer once you count all of that in.
Oh, 100%. And if you tell them, like if you tell a good interior designer that's not going to take advantage of you, that comes with every profession. There's going to be someone that's going to there's a bad egg everywhere. But if you tell them your budget, they're going to figure out what you could do and do even more in it. What are people looking for in their homes? And that's when I go to real estate agents and ask them, what is everybody looking for? Is it open concept still? So it kind of goes both ways, making sure you reach out both sides.
Yeah, money is very important. So if your buyers already know that they're selling, it's very smart of them to plan ahead and let you know so that they can incorporate the changes over the next 5 years instead of being faced with upfront fees last second or losing out on some income that they could have made selling the house because no one really wants what they have.
Absolutely. And that's a question any interior designer talking on or listening to this podcast, that's a question you should ask every single client. How long do you feel like you'll be in this home? Because that will determine how you design the house, how you go about and design, the kitchen or the bathroom, those big ticket items in the home. So you're not hurting them in the long run when they go out and sell the home.
Networking is everything. That's what we believe at the Pocket Network. That's our entire business plan, where we believe there's so much power in networking that's what's going to drive and completely help people innovate their career, no matter where they are in the beginning stages or if they're an industry veteran.
Absolutely. And as soon as you figure that out, that's when your career skyrockets. Yeah. Most people, they go into it and they're just like, I want to do this all myself. I don't want anybody's help. And once you swallow your pride on that and actually invite the help in, you get so much more connections, so many more clients from those connections. So I definitely everybody to think about that.
Yeah, instead of seeing people as competition, it's so much easier to build a team with those people.
After that, I had a listing in Bell Canyon, and I wasn't familiar with that area as much as I should be. I knew about it, but of course, when you're listing a property, you need to know the school district, you know, what fire department, what police department, all their local law enforcement. There's a lot that goes into it. And I had to do the same thing. I had to research in order to give my client the optimal amount of exposure for the property.
And I love that you said you called the sheriff's department directly.
I did.
I love that, because if it was for me, if someone had asked me, I would have just Googled like Palmdale safety and then looked at how it's ranked. But I'm sure that's definitely not as accurate as what the sheriff's department can tell you.
Yes.
Yeah, so I love that.
Thank you. And all that information is available online.
Yeah.
But
but you did the extra work.
I did.
Yeah, so that's why I think your clients are seeing this reflected, and that's why you've been so successful in just 6 short months.
Thank you. Being in this business, I started to rely on social media, and I didn't realize how effective it was.
Yeah.
I actually sold a house on Instagram. It was an off market, and I had posted it on my stories. And I got a hit. It was a buyer, and he was interested. And I'm nowhere to be found. I'm not in the area. So I sent a colleague of mine to assist the buyer, and they did. And everyone always asks me, what's one of your favorite stories? And my favorite story is I met my buyer after I opened escrow. And I did it on Instagram.
I love it.
Yeah. And I have a lot of people who are following me, a lot of my clients who I've obtained through Instagram as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I found you on Instagram too, actually.
Yes.
So it definitely is something big, because you've only been an agent for 6 months, but you've established a following, and most importantly, an active following. It's not just any buyer that can afford that home.
Yes. So what do? You hop into networking with people that are able to purchase a home that way. So what I've been doing is I've been going to brokers' opens, trying to gear myself toward higher end clientele, going to an open house that, has a $75 million listing and trying to find buyers there, or the listing agent who can bring me a buyer for this home. So when it comes to networking, you network everywhere.
Yeah.
Because these people are in your pipeline. And you never know when your path will cross. But when you have a specific thing that you need to network for, I believe it's essential that you target that specifically. And that's what I've been doing here with this particular property.
Yeah, and targeted marketing is one of the most important aspects.
Definitely.
Because if you might have amazing material content, now if you're marketing to someone who can't afford it, no matter how good you are, no matter how much they want it, you're not going to make any money off of it.
I think you can only fake it to be someone else for so long, but after a while you lose that momentum, so I am this way with my clients, the way that I am with you, and the way that I am with everyone else. So you have to establish yourself in a way where what's better than you. So just be you, and people notice that, and it's very important. It's very important in the long run.
Yeah, and realistically, once you do become the best, the number one, wherever you want to be, number one in US, whatever, worldwide, how do you want people to know you? Do you want them to know the real version of you, or this fake persona that you've created? How long can you keep that up? How happy are you going to be? Now, if you can be authentically yourself and people love and respect you for that, that's a happy person.
Yes. I don't believe there is a number one, or I want to be a number one. No, I just want to be happy. Yeah. And I think that that's been my motivating and driving force behind all of this. This was supposed to be for fun. And look what happened when you're having fun.
Once you get into a habit of, organizing your life, it becomes much more streamlined. So the way I help myself to create time is I streamline every process. So like my law practice is very streamlined, and it's primarily paperless. Okay. So everything is online. I can control everything online. So
you can work from anywhere.
Right. And my teaching is also streamlined. I've created all my lecture notes. I know exactly what it's supposed to do, when the midterms are, and I give myself deadlines on when to grade. The school doesn't have deadlines for us.
Yeah.
But I have a system in place that I'm like, I got to get these graded. I got to do this. So.
And do you have an assistant for that, like a teacher's assistant?
I do, but I have a very difficult time delegating tasks.
Okay.
That's a big vice of mine. So the school does provide a graduate student that can assist, but my nature is to do everything myself. So I do it myself because I have to know that it's done this way. Recently, California just passed a law where you can keep up to $600,000 of your equity in your house and still file bankruptcy. So let's say you have $50,000 of credit cards. If you have $1 million house and the loan is $400,000, there's $600,000 of equity in your house that's built up. That person with $1 million house, which is probably like a 1-bedroom in Glendale, they can file bankruptcy, keep that $1 million house because you're within the $600,000 homestead exemption, and get rid of all your other debts. More importantly, if there are any judgments that are recorded against your house, those can also be eliminated.
She said that because she had a few kids and she was so successful, she had such an impressive resume. And when she was asked about work-life balance, she says, the only answer I ever have to that is there is never a balance. She's like, the way I balance it is 1 week, I might have to focus on my kids more because they need my support. Another week, I might have to focus on my job more because that's where my energy is needed. So that's something to think about, that you don't feel like a failure just because you feel like you haven't given family and your job equal amounts of attention that week. You balance it in your own way.
Thank you. I'm now grateful to be here. Thank you for that.
Just for that reason. Okay. I will remember to give this analogy to every single podcast guest so they could come back.
I tell my real estate agent friends, I say, look, before you close escrow, please ask your clients, hey, Margaret, have you been sued in the last 10 years? Maybe she'll say, oh, yeah, I remember, Visa sued me. Go search to see if there's a judgment in her name, because
it would be public information.
It would be public information.
Okay.
And because the last thing you want is when you close escrow, you get a letter saying, congratulations on closing your house. Oh, by the way, there's now a judgment that's recorded. And the judgment earns 10% a year.
Oh, wow.
So
in 10 years, it might be worth the value of your home.
Right. It's going to, it goes up exponentially. So nobody wants to wake up after escrow saying, oh, by the way, there's a judgment on your house. So please check for judgments before you close escrow. If there is, I recommend don't buy it in their name.
Yeah,
that's
really important information, and thank you for sharing that. Every single person that you meet can open their own business from home, just from their phone. Using their phone, they don't even need a computer.
Absolutely.
They can have a supply chain within hours set up, just sending out a few emails to a few factories based on a Google search.
Absolutely.
So the capabilities of technology are endless, and if we're able to apply something like augmentecture to our work, if you're doing it tomorrow, not today, you're too late.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, for real estate professionals, it is competitive. There are no houses to sell, and if there is one, there's 1,000 real estate agents. Who's going to attract the next resident for that property, and how are they going to attract? It's like in the olden days, there was this term, I'm sure you're familiar, companies have to generate leads. There's lead generation, and then those leads turn into some potentials, and those potentials turn into some sales. Right? You cannot call 1,000 people anymore. That's decision sciences. That's decision making. Some of it is scientific. Most of it is not. It's experience, getting good at it. I saw a quote from the ex-CEO of LinkedIn. Oprah was talking to him.
Okay.
And then she asked him, said, what is the most difficult thing in your job? And he goes, by making critical decisions. And then she goes, how did you become good at it? And he says, by making wrong decisions.
Yeah, that's the best way to improve at anything.
So he says, I'm being good now because I made a lot of wrong decisions, but nevertheless, I made them quick. So then they can make
And the best part of that is the recovery and what you do to adjust after that. Not just keep making that wrong decision.
Sure.
If you look at the best companies or the best real estate agents, the best professionals, they've made all of the mistakes you can think of and so much more. But what made them different, what differentiates them is the way they recovered and innovated their practices.
You have to have a postmortem about everything you do. Even if you're successful in a company, you have to learn what happened that this worked out. So don't forget about those things and then do it for the next business. So it's about making critical decisions. And I was surprised when I was started teaching these classes a few years ago that there is a community of decision sciences. There's a community called critical decision makers. There are books of this thick about how do you make a critical decision. And here I'm thinking, oh my God, the entire semester I have to read this book and go say something to the students. I realized quickly what is decision making is common sense at the core of it, right? You need data, you need intuition, you need judgment, you need analytics, and you also need cultural sensitivity. The decisions we make today, it has a global impact.
I downloaded the app, I scanned the QR code, and I was able to figure out the app on my own without much guidance. So it's very user-friendly, and it's something where it's not just between architects. So I'm thinking if I wanted to develop my own property, so whoever I'm hiring, if they are able to get me onto the property and right in front of me, through my phone, I'm able to see what they're going to build, what it'll look like. Absolutely. Do I actually like it? Because maybe I'm asking for something because it's in at the moment. Correct. If I were to see it on my own property, whether it's on the first floor, second floor, maybe I won't like it as much. Correct. And it allows people like me without the inexperienced eye to be able to make these judgments before the development instead of creating something and then breaking it down and making them redo it. That's a waste of time, money, and a lot of stress.
Correct. Yeah, you actually explained it really well. I appreciate it.
My number one focus always has been and always will be my clients. And in our industry, in the real estate and mortgage 101, anybody starts as a mortgage planner, immediately the first thing they tell them is, contact realtors. My thing immediately, I tell them, concentrate on your skills, concentrate on your education, your knowledge, and then concentrate on your clients. That's my number one thing that I teach all the loan officers that have walked into my office. And unfortunately, very few take that to the heart, very few, because they're all about glitz and glamour and all this social media nonsense that people put out there. And I don't compete with anybody. I am always and will always be my worst critic ever. And I am my own competition. So let's just put it that way. And I don't look at anybody else as a competition, not just because, oh my God, I'm this. I always watched all these loan officers making, it's a first-time home buyer program.
They make it sound like one thing.
Yeah, but no, that's not what it is. First-time home buyer program on conventional loans. It's anybody that is, you could purchase a house today, purchase another property three months down the line as your primary residence. If it's an upgrade, what does that mean? Like it's the same qualification process. It's the same guideline. There's no down payment, discrepancy or none of that stuff. Only thing that considers the first time when it comes down to FHA loans. Okay. FHAs, if you purchased it, if you haven't purchased the property in 3 years, you're considered their first-time home buyer. But FHA is a horrible loan altogether because of the mortgage insurances on top and your front end, back end, and so on. And you cannot get out of mortgage insurances unless you refinance it. So that's another extra cost to the borrower. Me being as a mom, it's extremely important to be an example for my kids as well. And people need to understand that success, it's not something, it's not something that happens overnight, okay? It needs nourishing, it needs care, it needs self-care. Me, again, being as a mom, is extremely important for me to teach my kids that good things in life, successful things in life, take time, period. If something happens overnight, we go get excited, this and that, but it's a short term, that's not gonna last.
Yeah.
I think that's because, again, people don't have patience anymore. Everything is instant. When I started, I said, the first thing that I said with the group of people that I was working at, I said, I'm not doing for clients, I'm not doing for likes, I'm not doing for any of that stuff. And I know that, the industry itself, like we have to be on social media. That's where we're leading. I need to have my presence there. And I'm going to use my platform for things that are going to be good. I'm not just going to throw things out there just because people want to see that. Yeah. I'm going to say and I'm going to talk about things that people don't talk about. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what I did. And there was a lot of times where like, no, we need to do this. We need to do. I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to post. I have so much content that I didn't feel okay with. I didn't feel comfortable. Never seen a daylight in order for them to be able to be in the public, period. I'm just not going to do it. Yeah. I did the work. I've created them, but I didn't feel right about it. I said it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not worth compromising your values for a quick like.
In order for me to reach that type of rental value, I'm going to have to pour X amount into this property to be able to market it like that kind of house.
Yeah.
And those are the ones
depending on what you're trying to charge.
Yeah. Those are the ones that usually they'll rehab a property, they'll fill it up with the tenant. The tenant is going to pay a really high amount. So then the cap rate goes up to like 5.5%. And then they resell the property as a income producing property to another investor. So they do all the legwork, but then they get a big premium for doing that.
Yeah. So it's the long-term return.
Yeah. You see that more in like the multi-units. Somebody buys a 12-unit complex. They eventually rehab the whole place. They all had window unit ACs. They install central heating and cooling in all of them. Prefab kitchens and bathrooms in all of them. They fill it up with tenants that are paying more than they probably should be. And then now the building is producing a 5.5-6% cap rate, which is high. You're not going to see that as often in the marketplace now. But then somebody in Oklahoma sees that and they're like, I want to invest in that. That's a great return for my money. So they don't even come out and see it. They just look at the numbers. They're like, this makes sense to me. And then they invest. A lot of my prospecting tends to go to clients that are, I don't want to say like elderly, but like people like in the baby boomer stage, people that have owned properties for a while. And the main reason why I focus on them is especially if they don't have the money or the means to fix up their house, I don't want them to just sell. I tell them Compass has this platform where it's called concierge services, where we can give them a private loan of $75,000 and they have no interest, they have no fees, they have no payments for 1 year. There's no gimmicks to that or anything. It's literally, if you qualify, if you have equity in your property and you're somebody that is not, you don't have 100 mechanics liens on your house or something, we give you the money so that you can fix up your house.
And the only thing that you have to do in return is let Compass sell your home.
Yeah. And a lot of times people say, so you're probably going to charge me an arm and a leg. And we say, no, our commission rate stays the same. They're like, why would you do that then? And we tell them, like I was explaining earlier, if I could sell your house for $1 million now, and by investing $75,000 into it, we could sell for 1.4 because you've, really rejuvenated all the parts of the property that 75 can't always do that, but depending on the property, it could make it appealing enough where you can get enough bids to push it to that price. Then now my commission rate is based off of the 1.4. So I don't have to charge you more. I get rewarded by doing right by you, by getting you significantly more than you were going to get. It's not a end all be all necessity.
Yeah.
But a team is like a steroid injection into your business because you are a cost to somebody else.
Yeah.
They want to see their return on their investment of you. So if you start in this industry and you're thinking, I want to do it all myself. I want to build my own name. I want to build my own team. No problem. That's totally fine. Go that path. But you're going to go a lot faster down that road if you join somebody, learn a few things, and then you go off on your own afterwards. I personally, it's funny to say this, in 10 years, I'm still on a team.
Why is that funny to say?
Because a lot of times there's this notion that why don't you have your own team? And especially in the Armenian community, why don't you have your own brokerage?
Oh, your own business, yeah.
Exactly. But
always like
there's
that.
one of those things where I don't want to wear every hat. I don't want to be, it's like when I'm at home.
It's not going to make you happy.
100%. So I can do roofing work. I've done roofing work. I have a roofer that I'm going to be meeting with to start work on my house tomorrow. But why? Because if I focus on the things that I'm good at, I can pay him for his time and I'm worth more. It's the opportunity cost of what I'm doing. Same thing with the team. Not everybody is good at lead generation. They should learn it. They should be, very well versed in it, but not everyone's good at it. There's that old saying that if you want to move fast, go by yourself.
Yeah.
If you want to go far, go with others. That is a huge deal in this industry. If you want to build, Aaron Kerman is one of the people that I look up to in this industry. He does over $1 billion a sale. Last year, I think they did like 1.2 billion.
Wow.
He has like 50 agents on his team, maybe less because it always fluctuates.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things
1% of a billion is much more than 100% of 1 million.
Yeah, but they're not all going to get a piece of his business, but it's one of those things where they're learning from somebody that's truly amazing at what he does. Like the guy that I work with, Michael Dilsaver in Pasadena, the guy used to dominate that area. And a big part of why I like working with him is I started to notice like we work similar. Our mentalities are the same.
Yeah.
I want to work with somebody like-minded, and I want to work with somebody that goes at the same pace, cares about the clients as much as I do, all of that stuff. I could go somewhere that's faster paced, that produces more, that's all about the paycheck. But how long can you do that before you're like, this is it, I'm burning out?
Yeah. Money's not always that important. It might be when you're really young, but once you know exactly who you are and what you want in your career, you're going to look past that.
Yeah. It's like that adage, give a man a fish or teach a man how to fish. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, if you can learn how to source your own business, that's way more valuable than relying on somebody.
Yeah. Welcome back. We're still here. We watched everything with you. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. We were laughing at some of those parts, especially knowing some of the behind the scenes, what was happening here. Again, I feel like every single time it just reiterates small concepts that we feel like we may know, but maybe you're not applying as much importance to it as you should. So really think on these topics. Really ask yourself, how can I apply this 1 minute snippet to my career? That 1 minute could possibly change your life. That 1 minute can help you make your next sale. And reach out to all of these people. Some of these people, they may seem like they're huge on social media and they might ignore you. And I can almost promise you that's not the case. If they see your message, of course, they'll be getting a lot of messages. If they see your message, they are some of the sweetest, most down-to-earth people. And their entire goal is to help everyone around them.
Yeah, and I just want to congratulate the Pocket Network on a very successful first season. I want to thank our co-founder, Ed.
Yes.
I want to thank one of our producers, Jakob Kazazian. And his time and effort that he put in helping us with the post-production. I want to thank our video editor, Hraj Pilosian, all the way from Armenia. So thank you so much for all your help and all the editing skills that you bring on board. We have an amazing lineup set up for season 2. I'm really excited for season 2.
Me
We're
too.
going to start off with a boom, and we're going to continue to kill it throughout the next 15 episodes in season 2. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Me too. And as always, we really, really, really want to hear your advice, your input. What do you like? What don't you like? Help us. Tell us. Even if you hate something, we really want to know because we want to make this better for you. All of this, everything that we do, we plan these podcasts, these questions, everything around it with the listener in mind. We really, truly have one thing in mind. These podcasts, all we want is for one of you to message us one day and say, I made a sale listening to podcast number, whatever, 14, 15, 25. Hopefully we have more podcasts. And if you want to be on the podcast, reach out to us. We really, our recruiting department is always looking for new talent, the people that we want to highlight on the podcast. We want to pick into your brain and see what have you done, what works for you, or what hasn't worked for you. So again, thank you, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed everything as much as we have. And I hope it doesn't get annoying when we keep saying change begins at home, because that's truly where change begins. All of our success, all of our failures, they start with us, they end with us. It's all up to you. No one's going to get up and do the work for you. So keep in mind, change begins at home.